Oh man, look, what a beautiful day here in Florida.
Yeah, it's nice, right?
I mean, half of the rest of the country is under snow, and here you are in a tank top. And I mean, this is December as we're recording this right now, but pretty incredible.
That's what I was going to say. It's hard to believe it's just after Christmas, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. By the way, have you like found the fountain of youth or something? You do not age.
No, I don't know what it is, man. I've got a lot of compliments on that since posting some of the newest stuff, and it's really cool. I don't know. I just try to eat healthy and never been a big drinker. Don't smoke. Never been a drug guy. So maybe that's it. I don't know. Like I train almost every day. So I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's that Florida sun getting that vitamin D every day.
It could be.
I don't know. Because a lot of wrestlers go out of the public eye for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years or whatever. And we see them again and we're like, oh, wow. They really haven't been taking care of themselves. And you're like Benjamin Button over here.
Oh, thanks, dude. I appreciate it. It's
you put out this video, like you're launching your new YouTube channel, which by the way, everybody should go subscribe. And the link is down in the description. And I think people went like, not only do you look like youthful, like you look like good and really happy.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I am like, it's like, what a crazy time in my life. Like I'm taking this crazy step, and I know a lot of people think, what's this guy? I'm 48 years old and I'm going back into the ring. But I feel like if I didn't feel like I could go and deliver, I wouldn't do it, and it just felt like the perfect time to do it. So.
Is it that you just missed being in the ring? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I missed being in the ring. I never said I was retired. I took the job as a coach with WWE at the Performance Center back in 2016. I had my last match in August of 16, and that was it. I never said I was retired, but I also never saw myself as time went on. We were 5 years later, almost 6 years later. I never saw myself really having another match again. And I was okay with that. Honestly, I did everything. Dude, I look back at some of that Attitude Era stuff in the video, and it's crazier than what I even remember it. So I go, you know what? Nobody can ever take that away from me, right? Like my career peaked at the peak of professional wrestling. It was such a cool time with such a cool energy and such cool characters. And so I felt like I did everything that I ever wanted to do, but I missed the traveling. NXT wasn't doing any live events. We weren't traveling at all. All the TV shot in house. I wasn't traveling. I wasn't having fun anymore there. And I saw people outside, from AEW all the way down to, small independents having fun. And the independents are on fire right now. So I started asking around and, what do you think I could make? And, I was doing the numbers. I was like, dude, I think I can go out there and kill it. And there are very few guys from the Attitude Era who's still going, Al Snow, the Headbangers, Billy Gunn, Val Venus does a little bit, Godfather does a little bit, but there's very few that are going. So I was like, man, I can still deliver, so I'm excited. It's
How
a
much
really
time
cool
and thought went into this? Because it's got to be tough leaving a sure thing, which is the job you had at the PC.
Right. Yeah. No, it was maybe just seriously the last couple months, probably from the pandemic. Once the pandemic happened, all the releases started happening. I think the releases took a big toll on me as a coach. I never had any idea how much I would love that job and coaching people, and they become almost like your children. Right. So, and then, you see them getting released, you have to create these relationships with these people, and then, they get released, and, you're finding out about it on Twitter with everybody else. Here you are, you've built this relationship for years. You're their coach. And, I have my buddy from Nashville, who's not even in the wrestling business, texting me going, hey, releases are happening again. So here I go, jump on Twitter. And then there's somebody that's in my class that I was sitting with 3 hours before, and that's how I'm finding out. And I'm like, dude, this isn't cool.
All right, I got to jump in here for just a minute and pause this amazing conversation, because too cool content like this isn't possible without two cool sponsors like NordVPN. So I've been traveling a lot lately. In fact, if you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, you saw that I was back home in Canada for the holidays, where it was more than too cool. It was too cold. Yeah, That was minus 27 degrees Fahrenheit with the wind chill, minus 27. So when you're traveling, and you know this, public Wi-Fi is notorious for being a hotbed for hackers to jump in there and steal your info. But by using NordVPN, it protects me from hackers and just gives me peace of mind when I log into a public Wi-Fi at the airport, a hotel, a restaurant, whatever it happens to be. And it's so easy to set up, whether it's on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, whatever, and it's super fast. And on top of the security, one of the best parts about it is you can access content from 59 countries by changing your virtual location with just one click. So I'm gonna let you in on something just between us. So I think that some people might say the WWE Network content is better than it is on Peacock. So I've been using NordVPN to access WWE Network, which is no longer available here in the US. But again, don't tell anyone. But you can do the same thing if you want. They've got an amazing holiday deal going on right now. If you go to nordvpn.com/CVV, you'll get up to 73% off your NordVPN plan, plus a bonus gift. And they've also got a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not sure about VPN and you just want to give it a try, and you go, you know what, not for me, you can get your money back. So again, nordvpn.com/CVV, and this is a limited time deal, by the way. In fact, you could say this deal is too hotty. So click that link in the description and the pinned comment to check it out. So you're finding out at the same time that everybody else is finding out?
Yeah.
There's not like a company-wide email that's sent or anything like that?
No, towards the end they started doing like a group text where they would let everybody know, and that was one of my beefs when I left. I don't ever want to know before the talent that's getting released knows. I don't ever want to have to face somebody, but I just felt like, hey, once it's done and they know, can't you send something out? To have an intern who's sitting beside the person who's doing the cuts, send a text to their coach and go, hey, just want to let you know, because me and other coaches had talent texting them, hey, thanks a lot for everything. And we reply, oh, you're welcome. Well, it's great having you. It's great having you in class. And we think they're talking about, being in class today. And they're talking about, yeah, no, I just got cut, So I think that took its toll on me. And just so many releases. And again, it was just, I just wasn't having fun. And I saw people outside having fun, which appears to be fun, and some people from the outside looking in, Chris, you go, okay, this guy's leaving the largest wrestling company in the history of the world to go back and wrestle in bingo halls and Knights of Columbus halls. And and those are the bad, some of them are the bad ones. You never know. It's gig life, right? You never know what you're going into when you take a booking. But you know what, dude, at this point in my life, if I get to go wrestle in a bingo hall in Poland somewhere on somebody else's dime, I'm there in a second, So
well, this is the thing, like everybody who watched you in your career saw how much fun you were having in the ring. And for you to say that you weren't having fun in your day-to-day life, I mean, it feels like a real disconnect from the Scotty to Hottie that we all know and love.
Yeah. And it was, so don't get me wrong. It was like the last month, 6 months to a year where it started to get that way. And it wasn't like it was every day and it was this horrible thing. It's just, I don't want that to be what people think about when they think about me. Cause I had an awesome career, like 30 years from day one, from the first time I stepped into a ring, a WWF ring in 1991 to now, it's 30 years. And I did some awesome, you and I wouldn't even be talking if I hadn't gone there, they gave me a platform to make a name. They gave me a platform to be able to go out and do what I'm going to do now. And I'm thankful for that. I just don't know if the thought is reciprocated. I don't even know if Vince McMahon knew I worked there.
No.
So, 5 years on the contract, they never did. And dude, they never did anything with me in those 5 years as far as the Scotty 2 Hottie character, So I don't know, Yeah,
you would have been the perfect Royal Rumble return.
You would think, but I don't think they or he believes that. So for whatever reason, and it's his company, it's his opinion, and and that's what I keep saying. Like anything I disagreed with is whether it's the way they wanted us to train the new talent or whatever, it's their company. So it's either I train their way and do their thing and just take the paycheck, or I walk away. And I chose to walk away. And honestly, dude, it's one of the most proudest moments of my life, to being able to say that I walked away on my own.
Yeah. And congratulations. Cause there's a lot of people that hear that voice in their heart or feel that feeling in their gut, and then they just don't listen to it. And like, you should be really proud of yourself that you are following your gut here.
Yeah, no, thank you. I am. And I think it's, I don't think I was being a good example to my kids to just go in and do something. Cause I've always told them, don't do something for the money, do it for the love, and the money will come if you love it, because that's what happened with me. I never did it. Never wrestled for money. Of course you hope to be rich and famous and all that good stuff. Right. But that wasn't why I did it. I just loved professional wrestling from the time I was 10 years old up until now. You know, I still love good.
Does the conversation have to happen with Matt Bloom? Is that who you have to talk to?
Yeah, that's who I had my final meeting with, and he gave me the release. I went into his office, told him I wanted my release, and they gave it to me pretty easy, honestly. And I really think they probably thought that I was going to AEW or something, but that I had no solid plans other than like asking around to my friends, what do you think I can make on the independents, so here I am,
So if the independents are the next step, have you thought about, what the step after that's going to be? You can't wrestle forever, right?
Right. Well, now, so again, like almost 6 years, I've been a coach at the Performance Center, one of 8 to 10 coaches, right? And so now I have that in my back pocket where I can go in, I do these independent shows, and then, I'll tell Rumora, I'll do a seminar during the day. And there are very few people out there that can go, hey, this is what they're looking for in there right now. All these coaches and whoever can tell you, if you want to go to WWE, this is what you want.
Right.
I'm one that can tell you what it actually is right now. And of course that changes from day to day. So maybe I'm wrong, but dude, I don't know. So this is the thing with that. Like I've struggled with that for when I was 40 years old. I was like, I saw 40 coming, and I was like, oh man, like I'm still wrestling. I'm doing independence. Like, what else am I going to do? I put myself through fire school and EMT school. And I thought, that what a great transition, because most firefighters work 24 on, 48 off. So I could do that job, have a pension in 20 years, and then still be able to take my bookings.
Yeah.
It's because you can move your schedule around pretty easily with that job. And so I went through that whole thing with a fire EMT, and then I started volunteering to try to find a job, and it just, my heart wasn't in it, and then I ended up going through real estate school, got my real estate license, and again, that wasn't it. And then right after that happened, that's when the Performance Center thing happened. And I went back there. So here I was at 48, you getting older, like you said, like, what are you going to do after? And I don't think when you're going 100 miles an hour at WWE, it's hard to think about anything else. Right. So I go, okay, I know I can make some solid money in the wrestling business over the next couple of years. And it'll give me a lot of free time to figure out, okay, what's that next step? I don't know what it is, but I don't think you can really figure it out until you have that time to do that,
Yeah, I'm so curious. You mentioned you're the guy who knows what WWE is looking for because you were there. What is WWE looking for right now?
Today? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I left there a month ago. So when I left there, it was like they want young. They want younger. They want young, and I don't know. I don't know, dude. Like, how old is
they want people that have been in a ring before? Does that matter?
It doesn't seem like it, right? I know they're doing tryouts for people who have never done this. They're hiring these college athletes, and I have always said you can't teach passion, and you need passion to do this, because no matter how much money you're making, if you're on the road doing 200 shows a year and then you're traveling at the end of that loop every weekend, that adds another 52 days a year, you're looking at 250 to 300 days a year on the road. So no matter what you're making for money, you need passion. So I honestly think it'll swing back the other way at some point. They go, where are all the men at? We need men. And then you'll see this wave of guys who look like men, are a little bit older and have a little bit of experience. I don't know, putting green on green in there is on live television, it's a scary gamble,
Yeah, well, there's this clip of Triple H out there that I think rubbed people the wrong way, where he said, as weird as it sounds, we're not looking for wrestlers. We're
Yeah.
looking for the X factor. We're looking for it. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of wrestling fans went, what? What do you mean you're
Yeah.
not looking for wrestlers?
You're right. I mean, I think probably what he meant, I haven't seen it, but probably what he meant is what I've always said, like wrestling doesn't sell tickets. It's the moments, it's the characters, it's the storylines that sell tickets. If you look at every boom in the wrestling, whether it's the Hogan era or the Attitude Era, it's based around awesome characters and great storylines, just like any movie. And it doesn't matter how old they are, and I've struggled with that a little bit as I go back out. Like, do people really want to see a 48-year-old guy trying to look like 2000 Scotty 2 Hottie? And as fun as it sounds, and I think there may be some situations where that would work, certain appearances or whatever. I don't want to be that guy, so I go, maybe I kind of recreate the character. I mean, they, don't get me wrong, I know they own the character and I know all that stuff, right? But there's bits and pieces of it that were me,
Can you still use Scotty 2 Hottie?
Not legally.
So you're going to be like Scott, far too attractive.
Yeah. I always say, no, I'm lukewarm now.
What are you going to go by? Just Scott Garland?
I've got Scott Taylor. I've got Scotty Taylor. I've got Scott Garland. I thought about S2H, just Scotty. Like, here's the thing, Chris, I think 20 years ago, if a guy left, oh no, like you can't, what do you call him? But now with social media and everybody has their own platform to be their own promoter, and that was part of what the YouTube channel was for. And what the latest video that I put out on the YouTube channel, kind of showing my career, bits and pieces of my career. It gives me a platform to be my own promoter, and I can put out there whatever I want to do. Zack Ryder or Matt Cardona, he's the king of it all, right? Like he kind of, and I've talked to him a lot. Like you can promote yourself,
Yeah. And when you talk about passion, your story is incredible. Like the idea that you wanted to be a wrestler so badly as a kid that you were writing letters to the WWF to basically be like, hey, how do I work there one day?
Yeah. When I was like 15 years old and I got a reply from Sue Aitchison. I still have the letter that Sue worked at and she still works there, which is crazy. But no, yeah, I mean, my first memories are like right around the first WrestleMania, and I can remember going to the video store. It wasn't even Blockbuster, right? You go to the, like everybody had the mom and pop video store and going and getting the VHSs of WrestleMania and WrestleMania 2 and watching those. And I can remember my dad taking me to the Cumberland County Civic Center in Portland. And the very first show I remember was Andre was there, and I was like 5 years old. So this was even before the WrestleManias, and then the first show I really remember was right after the first WrestleMania, where I was really into it. The main event, I think it was Orndorff and Steamboat versus Morocco, and who else would have been in that? I'll think of it, but it was in that same group,
Yeah.
And from that point on, dude, I was hooked. Like I played baseball and football a little bit, but wrestling was all I ever wanted to do. And then, seeing Savage Steamboat WrestleMania 3, I'm like, that's what I want to do, and then when the Rockers came along, compared to everybody else then, they were probably 225, 230 at the time, but they looked like small guys on TV compared to everybody else. Like, oh, those guys are my size, they're about my size. I can do this. And then I met him in person. And like Sean felt like he towered over me and was like a giant. But that once those guys came around in that style with like Pat Tanaka and the Rockers and Owen Hart and the high flying guys started to come to the States, and you see more of that. That was it, man. I was done.
Yeah, you've got a little bit of a Shawn Michaels look, I think, going on right now with the scruff and the hat.
I get it all the time. Yeah, I get it. And then a couple of weeks ago, I knew I was going to have lunch with Rikishi for like the first time in 6 years. So I was like, I know we're going to do a picture, so I'm going to dye the goatee up so it looks like I did before. So I do the goatee, but the hair's like this, right? It's the long blonde hair, and every comment was almost looks like Tiger King. So I was like, all right, do I want to look like Shawn Michaels or do I want to look like Tiger King?
You know,
So
when you
can't
were
win.
coming up, there wasn't this path to be a pro wrestler like there is now. You know, if someone wants to be a pro wrestler, there's probably a wrestling school within driving distance from where you live. Where were the
Yeah.
first steps that you took?
Well, Kowalski had a school, you know, like I said, I grew up in Portland, Maine. And Kowalski had a school just outside of Boston. And that was about 2 hours from us. And had a couple friends that were looking to do wrestle too. We drove down there a couple of times to see his school. And for whatever reason, we didn't end up having much to do with it. I don't know what it was, but I remember we worked out there one time with him. But what we ended up doing was we built a little makeshift ring in my mom's garage with like 18 mattresses. We found all these mattresses, built a ring, like three rows of three. Then we laid down sheets of plywood, then another 3 rows of 3, used my dad's workbench as a top rope, and had another mattress in each corner so we could go into the corners. And it was a tape called Secrets of Pro Wrestling out that kind of taught you the basics, you know. And then we just went from what we saw on TV, and then we went from there. You know, I always say, like, I was a backyard guy before there was a word for it, you know.
Yeah. Where did you officially like find a wrestling school though?
I never did. I never went to a wrestling school. We what happened was we met this guy from WWE who at a WWF house show, who was standing in line to get food, and he was behind us and he had a ring crew shirt on. So we started talking to him, and we got to know him over the years. And so we would go and help him set up the ring. And then he would go to lunch or whatever after he finished up. And he said, "Hey, you know, I didn't say you could get in the ring, but," and he would leave us there, and we would just get in the first real ring I was ever in was a WWF ring. And this is like 14, 15 years old. Probably 15.
This would never happen now.
Oh my God, right? Like, it sounds like a legal problems written all over it.
Right.
So we would get in there and mess around until somebody came in and tossed us out. You know, and I can remember, so this is in the Cumberland County Civic Center in Maine. And WWE had an afternoon show, but the traveling show of Cats, the Broadway show Cats, was in the same building at night. So like all of the cast and crew were out in the arena, just sitting in the stands, and we were in the ring having a match, you know, messing around. So that was our first performance in front of a crowd. But what happened was, there was this guy who had bought Rocky Marciano's, so he says, boxing ring. And he was converting it to a wrestling ring, and he was going to start doing shows. And he saw us in there messing around. We exchanged numbers and kept in contact. And sure enough, a short while later, he said he was going to do a show and booked us. And it just snowballed from there. You know, we did his show, a couple of the wrestlers on the real independent wrestlers, and met them. And then, you know, they helped us get a book done, other show. It just snowballed. And then that's how it forever went. You know,
man, I think most fans are obviously going to know you best as Scotty 2 Hotty, but who was Scott Taylor before Scotty 2 Hotty?
What was the character?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess, I don't know. Like, it was, you know,
like
the
generic wrestling guy?
Kind of a Shawn Michaels wannabe, I guess. You know, definitely a Shawn Michaels wannabe.
It's all coming full circle here.
Yeah, for sure, dude. And then I end up working a day job with him at the Performance Center.
Exactly.
You know? Like talk about a crazy. And I said that to him. I go, "This is crazy. I work a day job with Shawn Michaels." And you know what his reply was? He goes, "I work a day job." He goes, "It's crazy. I think I work a day job." I'm like, so true. But what a crazy life, man. Like, you know, and like he was the guy for me. He was like my idol growing up from, you know, through my teenage years. And so to be able to, you know, get to work with him at the Performance Center and be around him and get to know him, and it was just awesome. You know, it's just crazy life I've had, you know.
Yeah. Whose idea was it to make you go from singles wrestler to tag team and pair you with Brian Christopher?
We were just thrown together at that WrestleMania. Was it 14 in Boston?
No way.
We were just thrown together as a team in that Battle Royal, which was also crazy because he had been a heel up to that point, and I'd been nothing but a babyface, you know. And then all of a sudden, we're just thrown together. I have no idea why. You know, I think it was supposed to be a one-off, but I had actually wrestled as Scott 2 Hot Taylor on the Indies a few years before, and I pitched the idea to Vince McMahon in catering. at WrestleMania 14, I said, hey, thanks for putting me on the show. Like, I know, Brian and I together he's too sexy. He'd been wrestling as Too Sexy forever. And then, I used to wrestle with Scott Too Hot Taylor on the independents. And then sure enough, like next TV, we were thrown together in a match on like Shotgun Saturday Night or whatever that show was at the time. And they called us Too Much.
And then it started evolving from there. Was there ever a conversation where they were like, Scott, how good is your dancing?
No, they just said, hey, we want you to do this celebration dance with Rikishi after. And dude, still to this day, I have never danced in public as myself. Like, I'm terrified. Like, if like you say, I skipped like my high school dances, maybe like a little slow dance with some girl as a teenage kid, but never like a fast dance. Like, I'm still like, so what you saw was me basically making fun of like the drunk white guy in the clubs, like who thinks he can dance at like 1 o'clock in the morning. That's what I was doing, and so I will say, like, I did get into the breakdancing, when breakdancing was big back in the 80s or whatever. And that's where I learned to do the worm and the backspin and the moonwalk and all that stuff. So I incorporated that in, and it was all just kind of started as me goofing off on live events where I just try to pop the other guys and get a reaction out of them by, doing the worm in the middle of the match or, doing the moonwalk or whatever. And it was getting a reaction from the crowd, so I knew I was on.
When did you decide the worm should be a signature move?
It was once Too Cool started.
Yeah.
I just started again, like I would just lay the guy out by the ropes and I would hit the other ropes. I would stop, put on the brakes and just drop down and worm across and either drop an elbow or headbutt. I was toying with all this different stuff, but I was getting a reaction from the crowd that I knew I was onto something. And then once they really started with the Too Cool stuff, I was just high, I laid the guy out and I was hopping to the other side of the ring. Just, that's how I started doing it. And, there weren't 4 hops. It was just hop. And one night on Raw, Jerry Lawler said WORM. And then I asked him if he would keep doing that. And sure enough, a few weeks later, a month later, crowd was doing it along,
Wow. So did you watch it back and see Lawler doing that and going, oh, yeah, that works?
Yeah. I heard the playback. And then went to him and I asked him to keep doing it, so it's kind of crazy. Brian's dad is the one that helped get the worm over, Well,
and it's so funny. And you always hear so many stories like this where it's the little things, right? And here we are 20 years later talking about the little things that happened back then.
Dude, it's still about the moments, and the wrestling has to be solid, but it's the characters and it's those moments that people don't forget. You think of like Hogan Rock, WrestleMania, right? Like, what do you remember?
I was there. I talk about it all the time.
I was too. But what do you remember? And what gets played back? It's the stare down between the two, right? Like they weren't even touching each other.
Literally just talking about it.
Right. It's those moments that people remember. Like I watched the match, over the last couple of years, and they go outside, they brawl around the outside. I think they use like the bell or something over by the bell, a chair or something. Like just this brawl. Like I don't even remember that. I didn't even remember that part of the match. For us, it's the worm, it's the dance, it's the stink face, it's like I said, now more than ever, the wrestling part has to be solid, but people want those characters. They want to be able to relate to somebody, and feel whether it's wrestling, music, comedy, whatever it is, if you don't have a connection with that crowd, you don't have anything. That's the most important thing. Like you got to be able to connect with that crowd and make them feel what you're feeling. If you can do that, look at Hogan. Hogan never did a moonsault or anything, right? He was the best at being able to connect with an audience.
Yeah. And this is why you are going to knock it out of the park on the indies, because you are selling a very large slice of nostalgia to everyone who's just going to eat it up.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, like, how do I reinvent this whole thing? And I don't have a problem at all playing, like I said, I'm 48 years old. I don't have a problem playing that into the whole factor of the character, like using this whole, if they want to call it a comeback or whatever they want to call it. Like I keep calling it a continuation because I hate that a comeback just feels so like overused and like I don't mind using any of that. Whatever to make those people feel something and feel like they're part of something special. Like whatever it is, man. Like that's my job now.
Have you been booked for Wrestlecon yet?
I don't believe so. When is that?
It's the WrestleMania weekend.
Oh yes, I am. Yes.
Well, then I was going to say, if you're not there, this is a huge missed opportunity by whoever would be bringing you in.
Yeah, no, I'll be with Dave Hero and Al Snow and that whole crew.
I will also be with you guys.
Oh, good, man.
Collar and elbow and Fandu belts.
Yeah, awesome, dude. That'll be fun. It'll be a fun
this is amazing. Why we will do this in person then.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, this is so exciting.
I'm looking forward to all that. Like, I don't know, maybe some people look down on it, but I'm looking forward to all of that stuff. Like I was so excited, like to get my Cameo set up and to get the pro wrestling t-shirts store set up. Like all that stuff just sounds so cool to me that this is just stuff that was never there.
Yeah.
Even 5 years ago. I mean, I guess like pro wrestling tees was coming onto the scene around that time, but it's just all these platforms now for guys like me to make money and still make a living at this, and dude, as long as I can do it, as long as I can deliver and not feel like I'm a shell of myself, like I don't want to be that guy. I don't think anybody wants to be that guy, but I will keep doing it. Like I'm booked right now, booked pretty solid into April with a bunch of days in the UK. I had four countries in 4 days. And I was like, I contacted my buddy, is promoting a show in Wales. And I was like, dude, do you mind moving that show to the weekend before? Because 4 shows and four countries in 4 days, like that's going to be rough. And I want to be a part of doing this. Like that's like a WWE schedule. Boom, 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 boom. Be like, okay, I don't even know where I'm at right now. I want to be able to go out and enjoy this. So I'd rather do a show here on Saturday, have a day off, see some stuff, hang out, find a coffee shop, go talk to someone. Like that's the cool part about doing this for me now, is just being able to enjoy it a little bit more, where it's not going 100 miles an hour. So that's what I'm doing, Wales, Ireland, Scotland, and England. And I hope all those are in the UK. Every time I post something, like I get so worried.
Oh
like,
yeah. Maybe you just say in Europe.
Yeah. Somewhere on planet Earth. I have 4 days.
Was there a specific moment, Scott, where you were like, oh, this tag team they just threw together with me and Brian Christopher is really taking off?
I think it was, we were getting good reactions when we were doing the Too Much stuff. We were getting good reactions then, but it still didn't feel, every match we were in, it didn't feel like it was for us. It felt like we were there to help somebody else, progress and get along, put them over, whatever. Once we switched to Too Cool and they put Rikishi with us, that first night that we did the dance together, I just remember coming in the back, and I don't even remember what, I want to say it was upstate New York. I can remember being out at the loading dock of the arena after we were waiting for the cars to leave, and talking with Rikishi and be like, that was magic. It's like something was special about that. Like, and then as soon, just that snowballed fast, and it was crazy because the three of us were, on the chopping block, I think at the time, Brian, myself, Rikishi, they weren't really doing anything with any of us. And then they put us together and it just clicked.
I mean, from the outside looking in, Rikishi, it didn't feel like that would work with what you guys were doing. And for whatever reason, it was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. And that's something I would tell my guys too, guys and girls, as a coach, is don't ever, because if I said to you, hey, Chris, I'm going to lay this guy out by the ropes, and then I'm going to stand over him and I'm going to run in place for like 10 seconds. And then I'm going to hop to the other side of the ring. And I'm hoping they're going to spell out the word worm. And I'm going to drop down and I'm going to do, you remember the old breakdancing move, the worm? I'm going to do that across the ring. And I'm going to stand over them. I'm going to go, who. I'm going to drop this lousy looking chop across their chest. On paper, that sounds awful. Right. So what I would tell my guys, just don't tell anybody about it. Just go out there and do it. Because sometimes you don't know if you feel something's going to work or you have an idea. Don't let anybody shut it down. Just go out there and do it. And, probably 90% of the time it's going to fall. You might fail, but it's that one time. All it takes is that people's elbow or the people's eyebrow or the worm or the stink face or whatever that thing is. Al Snow with head, like whatever that little thing is, like you'll feel it. And the audience will feel it and the office will feel it, you know?
Yeah. And then it's those moments. It's like that. This is something now that, you know, this will be your trademark thing for the rest of your life. Cause it's not just the worm. It's not just too cool. It's the hair, it's the goatee, it's the dancing, it's the sunglasses, it's everything.
Right. Yeah. I always joke that I'm going to be like 75 years old doing like Wrestlecons, and they're going to be like, oh, Scotty 2 Hotties here. And like I roll up in my wheelchair. You know? so I would have maybe picked a different name at 27 if I thought about that part of it.
Now, see, the great thing about Scotty 2 Hottie is every single person named Scott has now been called Scotty 2 Hottie at some point in their life.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? I can't tell you the people I've met over the years that tell me, oh, that was my nickname when I was growing up, or, you know, so it's cool, you know, and it's just something that I can remember. I think it was like Road Dogg and Adam Baum calling me Scotty 2 Hottie, just in the back, you know, way before I ever used it. And then one night when we were too much, we were doing something where Brian had a match and I was on commentary, and then we did it again the next week. And when I came out the next week, I said, Scotty 2 Hottie is back on Sunday Night Heat. And from that point on, it kind of stuck. And then a short while later, we started the Too Cool thing. And I remember saying to Vince Russo, hey, if we're going to change the team name, why don't we change our singles names too?
Yeah.
And that's when it all happened. Yeah.
What is your favorite memory of Brian?
Honestly, I have this picture from, we were never close. And the first, after I was released in 2007, we did a weekend for Hermie Sadler in the Carolinas. And we did like the Rock and Roll Express, Rock and Roll Express tournament. And Brian, just the very first night, it was 3 days long. The very first night he showed up and he was in a bad place. You know, I could smell it on his breath. You know, he just like he was a mess. And by the time Sunday rolled around, we had a big fight in the locker room. Not a physical fight, just a verbal argument. And I was like, dude, I don't need this. Like, we were just very different people. And we went our set. We didn't speak for 5 years. And then our very first appearance back after that 5 years, he pulled me aside and apologized for everything. And we both apologized. And then, you know, over that the next few years, I felt like we got closer than ever. But I brought my son. It was me, Rikishi, and Brian in the UK. We did a bunch of shows together, and I had my son with me, and who was like probably 10 years old at the time. And I have a picture of Brian showing my son Keegan how to use the payphone. It was an actual payphone, you know, and he's putting the coins in, and I have a picture of it. It's from behind of both of them. But I was like, this is cool. Like, you know, that other Brian, like, and to see him work with my son, like he was in a good place. You know, he was in a really good place. He cleaned himself up, and so it was really towards the end that we got closer than ever. And and I also was just kind of taking everything with a grain of salt, because he was always late. You know, if we said, hey, let's meet in the lobby at the hotel at 1 o'clock to go to the show, you know, I'd be down there at 1 o'clock. No Brian. I'd go up, knock on his door. You know, he'd answer the door like half asleep, but, you know, I just didn't let it bother me as much as it once did. And, you know, it was sad. And I knew, you know, towards the end, it was getting worse and worse. And, you know, he had to fight with, who was the dude from TNA? He had to fight with somebody from one of the TNA original guys. I can't think of his name off the top of my head now. Beat him up real bad. You know, and I don't know the whole story behind it, but whatever happened. He got beat up real bad. I saw the pictures of that. And then, you know, he was arrested again. I saw that last mugshot that I saw of him. I knew he was in a bad place, you know, because Brian always knew that whenever he was arrested, he knew his mugshot was going to get publicity. So he would always be smiling, right? Because he knew the news, especially in Memphis, where his dad was king. Like literally, like, you know, like he's so famous in Memphis.
Yeah.
he knew it was going to get publicity. So he would always be smiling or laughing in his mugshot. And that last one, he just looked weathered and beat down. And I just said, man, he's not in a good place. And then that's when he ended up passing away in jail, you know?
So you were never close with him when you were on the road?
No, we never, I've always said we never roomed together, but then I just remembered that we did room together at Owen Hart's funeral because the company paid for us all to go out there. So they doubled everybody up in rooms, and they just, because we were a tag team, I guess they just threw us in the same room together. But that's the only time that I can remember. Wow. Never rented cars to, never, him and Rikishi traveled together a little bit. But for me, I was always with Kane or Edge or Funaki. Like,
was this just a case of like your personalities just didn't mesh, or was there actually issues when you guys were a tag team?
No, there weren't really. We were just different people. You know, he liked to go out. He was a party guy. I was never a party guy. This is, I think, part of Brian's problem. And this, you see this happen a lot, is he, I think, liked Grandmaster Sexay better than he liked Brian Lawler. So he liked to live that character, you know, 24/7. You know, we would do shows where he would leave in his gear. Like, he would have the Too Cool stuff on. We'd be sitting in a restaurant, like, dude, what are you doing? I'm embarrassed, you know, like, but that was, you know, that was Brian. And I think he went down that bad road and just could never get away from it, you know? But we never, you know, I was never into that lifestyle, or I was a theme park nerd. You know,
you still are.
I still am, bigger than ever, you know.
Hey, you're living in the right place for that.
Right. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Do you think you could tilt your camera a little bit? It's just all sunny.
Yeah,
now.
I was gonna say that sun's killing us.
Yeah. I think you can block it with your head.
You say my head's that big?
There we go.
There we go. You're right.
What is the best theme park in Orlando?
My favorite now, just because I live here, and you do them differently than you do if you're here on vacation.
And you probably do them differently when you have kids too.
Yeah. But like, once you live here and you go all the time, you don't like. So there's times I'll go and we'll go get dinner, walk around, people watch, and so for that it's Epcot, which I hated as a kid because there aren't a lot of rides.
Yeah, there's not a lot of rides, but there is drinks.
Yeah. But yeah, we do Universal a lot now. Magic Kingdom is just so crazy packed all the time. It makes it hard to enjoy. But I love them all. You know, SeaWorld. We went to SeaWorld Christmas Eve. Like, we have fun at all of them.
I have a feeling that SeaWorld's not going to be existing in the next handful of years.
I don't know. It was packed the other night. They're doing pretty good, but.
Yeah, there's something about going to Epcot, especially like I'm a Canadian, so I always go there and like, it's a little slice of Canada, or at least a slice of Canadian stereotypes here.
Right. Yeah. That's what's fun about there. Is you go around to all the different countries and get all the different foods and everything. So I love it.
What is your favorite ride?
God, I like the classics at Disney, like the Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, however you say it. Yeah, and then, you know, the Tower Terror at Studios, or Rock and Roller Coaster at Studios. Like, the older I get, the less of a roller coaster guy I become. I think you start to think more as you get older. You know, man, I wonder if they tightened that bolt today. I wonder if they welded that track back. You know,
coming from a guy who jumps off the top rope and, you know, bumps around the ring.
Yeah. I don't even do that anymore. You know, after my neck surgery, I barely went to the top rope anymore. You know, I didn't feel like I had to do it. You know, I didn't have anything that looked all that good off the top rope.
Also, for anybody who's listening right now, you're at a dog park, right? That's what we're hearing?
Yeah. Sorry.
Is your dog back with you now?
No, I don't know where she's lost now, too.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, my girlfriend has the dog, so.
Oh, is there anything you can't do in the ring now at 48 that you could have done at 28?
Probably not. I mean, there's stuff I could do that I just wouldn't do. Like, I used to do the Owen Hart entrance off the top rope. You know, the backflip, land on my feet, and it's just not worth it. You know, one of those deals where it's you know, everything we do is risky anyways. It's the risk, the reward is not worth the risk on some stuff. You know, I could do it. I'm sure I could pull it off. because I'll do it every once in a while, mess around in the pool with the kids or whatever, just, do a backflip off the edge. And I know I can do it, but it's just, is it worth it?
Yeah. When
Yeah.
you were spending that time in the performance center, who was one of your students who you really developed a connection with, and then you were so happy, you felt like a proud father when they made it?
Easy. Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez are my two that I feel like I helped the most. I mean, you talk about a reward. I see Rhea doing interviews now. People will tag me and stuff where it's like she'll say like, I was like a father figure to her, and like, I mean, dude, how much better can it get than that? So cool. Like, it just, there's certain people you gravitate to and you create a relationship with, and you see them grow. And she was a 20-year-old kid, something like that, when she came in, and I've seen her grow up over the last few years. Both her and Raquel. And it was my last show that I produced for WWE was the WrestleMania on sale just over a month or so ago in Dallas in Cowboy Stadium. And the last segment of that show was Rhea and Raquel standing in the middle of Dallas Stadium in the ring together. And that was my match, So,
yeah.
I mean, talk about awesome closure. It couldn't be any better than that,
Yeah. What's the advice that you got when you were coming into the business that you're now passing on when you're working with these young stars?
Probably slow down. And you don't understand that until you understand it. Like, he's just an old guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And, even thinking back, I can remember, you got to slow down. Don't do this. Like, you think they're trying to hold you back, I think, when it's happening. Like, he just can't do it, so he doesn't want me to do it, But, and even when you say slow down, and I always wonder if I explained it correctly, when I'm telling people to slow down, it's not slowing down the way at the speed you're running across the ring. Slow down in between stuff so that the crowd can digest it and enjoy that moment. Like, if you do a huge moonsault to the outside or whatever, you can do it, but give them a moment to react and, look at their buddy and go, holy, did you see that? Blah, blah, oh, that was great. And react from it, But if you go, moonsault, pick them right back up, throw them in the ring, go to something, like, you didn't give them time to react. It's almost like a comedian telling a joke. If you set up a joke and you hit that punchline, but you don't give them time to laugh and you rush to the next one, it's the same thing, right? And that's something that's it's hard to teach. Because when you're new and nobody knows who you are, the only thing you're really getting reactions from is the moves. So if you do a move, I got to do this move because I am getting a reaction from it. Yeah, you're getting a reaction, but are you getting it for the right reasons? Like, you can take them on a ride and tell a story throughout the match and get the big reaction as a payoff. That means so much more, I think.
Yeah. People often refer to the WWE style of wrestling, which is what you were teaching for 6 years.
Right.
In your opinion,
I grew up on. It's what
how different is it from the AEW style that we're seeing?
I think it's, their AEW is a bit of what I was just talking about. Like they will do a lot of stuff where if they slowed it down just a little bit and gave the audience a chance to digest in between. And it's not everybody, some of the older guys, they get it, but it's just some of the younger guys, and it's everywhere. It's not just there. It's just given those moments in between, and also create moments. It doesn't have to be wrestling. The Hogan Rock thing was a stare down. And now you're talking about two guys who are super over. So I understand but there's still that's what people remember, other moments. For me, I will, on my entrance, I always go through that curtain. Even now, like when I left WWE in 2007, I went back to the independents for 10 years. I always went through that curtain with a mindset that nobody out there knew who I was. And I have to win that crowd over. I have to tell them that I'm the good guy. You want to cheer for me. So I'd start making my entrance, I'd be slapping hands as you're coming down the aisle. And I would always grab, like a little kid's hand or wrist or somebody's, and make it look like they're grabbing me and pulling me back to them, and then you can go back to them. Or I would do this where I would pick out a little kid halfway down and I would intentionally miss them. Stop when I got to the ring, look back and see the little kid, and now go back, pick his hand up, give him a high five. Now you just created a moment not only for that kid, but for that whole audience. Like, wow, that guy from WWE he just stopped his whole entrance to go back. And that's the art of what we do. And that's the stuff that it takes time to learn, and I think for me, that's kind of becoming a lost art,
That kid will remember that moment forever.
Sure. Right.
I heard a great phrase that I think is so applicable here. It's the little things are the big things. And I think that's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Yep. They're not going to remember. I could go in there, I could take a chair, do a moonsault. They're going to see 100 of those throughout the night, and they're going to see, 25 to 30 characters throughout the night. So how do you make that audience remember you? They're not going to remember your name, because if you win, they'll hear your name on your entrance. They hear your name on your exit. If you lose, they hear your name at the beginning of the match. So they're probably not going to remember your name. Right. Because I always go in with the mentality that everybody there is seeing a wrestling show for the very first time. So you have to spoon feed, you have to spoon feed your audience, your character, your story. And now more than ever, because people are on their cell phones throughout the match. So if you're going to do something where the heel, you go to lock up and the heel slaps the baby face in the face, you have to do that 2 or 3 times before you pay it back as the baby face. You can go have the heel slap, bully him around, whatever. Then you go to something, and then the baby face ends up getting it back on the heel. You have to really get that slap over from the heel because of people being on their phones. And I know, I don't know if everybody does this now, but I know NXT and WWE does it, where they'll go, hey, Tampa, make sure you're going on social media and hashtagging NXT Tampa tonight. So they're driving people to their phones. And Disney does it too. Universal does it. Everybody's doing it. While you're in the theme park, you can't enjoy the theme park because they drive you to your phones to make reservations, to make fast passes. When I go to the theme parks now, I feel like I'm on my phone the whole time I'm there. And, we do it in wrestling now too. So you really have to slow everything down now and just spoon feed your story. Again, people want characters and storylines that they can relate to.
Yeah. We've talked so much about the amazing moments that you've created with Brian and Rikishi as Too Cool. What is your favorite Too Cool match?
My go-to that I always say it was February of 2007. So this would have been right after the whole Royal Rumble, which was like a career highlight moment, I think, where we danced in the Rumble at the Garden. So this would have been right after that. It was a 10-man tag on Raw. It was me, Brian, Rikishi, Cactus, Jack, and The Rock against Eddie, Benoit, Malenko, X-Pac, and Hunter. And then on the outside you had, Eddie wasn't in the match. He was on the outside because his arm was broke. So it was Eddie. It was Dean, Perry, and Benoit. Hunter, X-Pac, with Eddie on the outside, Stephanie on commentary, Tori on the outside, Kane and Paul Bearer came in the end. The New Age Outlaws came in the end. It was in Dallas, and the crowd was just the crowd was just electric that night. It was, so that's my go-to. But a match that people bring up all the time is the Malenko match from Backlash, which, I guess when we did it, it didn't seem like anything special, but I guess, 20 years later, it kind of holds up, and you had 2 different styles, and that's what was cool. And that's what makes wrestling cool, and that's what I think about the danger of the performance center is you have everybody being taught the exact same way by 7 or 8 coaches. They can all be right or they can all be wrong. All the opinions, right? It's wrestling. Like I said, you got to throw stuff against the wall. You never know what's going to work or what's going to take off. So what is right? I always say the only thing to me that is right is the way that sells tickets.
Yeah.
Makes money, right?
Yeah. You were so over as Too Cool, but I wonder, was there ever a moment where you went, I want this for myself. I want to be a single star. I could be Intercontinental Champion. Maybe I could be Heavyweight Champion one day. Did you ever think that?
No, I don't remember thinking that. I mean, I'm sure in the moment, maybe I did, but I was having so much fun. Even though Brian and I, we were on the outside of the ring, we were different people. There were times where we barely talked before we went through that curtain. But when we did go through that curtain, it was magic, and it was just almost unexplainable how magical it was and how we could turn it on from what it actually was to what people saw, And I think there were times like, I don't even know if he likes me, and I'm sure he thought the same thing, but, dude, I don't think we could deny like that everybody involved in that whole thing knew there was something special about it,
Well, at the end of the day, it didn't matter if you guys liked each other because Scotty
No.
to Hottie and Grandmaster Sexay liked each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And you hear about that a lot with tag teams, like for years, it was like Hawk and Animal didn't like each other, and, Marty and Sean and, all these guys. And now I think it's a little bit different. It seems like guys get along a little bit better, but at the time, it was crazy.
Yeah, we talked about it off the start, but as we wrap this up, I want to remind everyone about your brand new YouTube channel, which is just called Scott Garland, right?
Right now. Yeah. Right now. I figured that was a safe bet for right now. I can't take that away from me. So I just wanted to, what happened was, right when I asked for my release, I had all this free time and I had all these home movies from my kids that I've always wanted to get converted onto digital. So I started converting all these, it's like 50 different cassettes of home movies onto a private YouTube channel for my family. And then, as I'm going through these boxes of tapes, I have all of these independent matches in moments from early in my career and interviews and all this different stuff. I was like, man, I should upload this someplace. And then I was like, yeah, it'd be cool to do just like short little videos, even when I go back out on the road. If I'm in London, like do a 3-minute video of my time in London, whatever. Yeah. Like it just gives me a platform, a place to put all this stuff out there. And I don't want to do a ton of editing. I just kind of want to put it out there, and I don't want to be that. So whatever happens with it happens. I'm not looking to make $1 million off it. And not that many people are on YouTube, I think, but and just whatever happens with it happens. It just gives me a vehicle to kind of, again, promote myself and put some current stuff out there, put some old cool stuff out there that I've forgot about,
Yeah. I just love the positivity that like oozes out of you. Like we need more of this in the world.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Thank you. I try to keep it that way. And that's why I don't like talking about the, the way it ended. Like it ended, and it is what it is. And you got to be thankful for the 30 great years and the platform they gave me to do my thing. So
your personality is as bright as the sun that is peeking out behind your head.
That Florida sun, man.
You talk about being thankful, and I end every conversation with the same questions. So, Scott, for you, what are 3 things in your life that you're grateful for right now?
Oh my God, my girlfriend. And that sounds really corny and everything, I know, but I went through some tough few years through the relationship, and now I've got this girl who's just awesome and just perfect. My kids, so always so thankful for my kids, and just being able to still do this. I started in 89. So 32 years later, I'm still doing this, and I've had neck surgery, back surgery, but all that feels good. My knees, hips, all that stuff feels great. And so I'm just thankful. Like if you told me that I'd be able to still do this in 2022, I said, you're crazy, and I have such a unique situation where I'm able to do this, go out there and deliver. And I'm just so thankful for that,
Yeah. What a great conversation. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for taking us to the beach with you today.
Sorry for all the distractions. But
no, it's all good. I'm just glad we got a signal that worked. So I appreciate you.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.